Delayed gratification is bullshit. Not only that, it's scientifically bullshit, and I'll tell you why. The notion that indefinitely postponing happiness and positive emotions, which are primarily driven by dopamine, for the sake of attaining a significant goal not only proves to be impossible, but it often results in the opposite effect. Picture this, you've got a goal, maybe it's a shiny new car, or a dream body that would make Greek gods envious, or even an early retirement in the Bahamas. But to achieve this, you know you have to hold off on all those small, immediate pleasures. That means skipping that extra slice of pizza, not splurging on that impulse buy, and God forbid cutting down on Netflix binges. The idea is simple. Put in the tough work now for a mega payoff later. That's delayed gratification in a nutshell. That's what we've been told by all the gurus is the answer to all of our problems. Except we know that doesn't work, don't we? I mean, that's why we're not all stupidly rich and shredded. But why? Well, because our animal brain takes one look at our logical plan and goes, no way, I want the fun stuff and I want it now. And that, my friends, is the big old roadblock on our highway to dreamland. I'm going to show you exactly why the way we currently understand delayed gratification never works, and how to scientifically use the same mechanism to achieve anything you want effortlessly. You have two sides of your brain, the logical brain and the animal brain, the conscious and the subconscious. I'm sure you know that by now. The logical brain is where you sit down and set your goals and all the things you want to achieve in your life and plan out all the things you know you should do in order to achieve them. You already know what you should do to grow your business or get in shape or any other ideal you may be pursuing. The logic is often simple and straightforward, hence the logic. However, our animal brain is in the driver's seat and it couldn't care less about your sensible 5-year plan. The primal part of our brain craves immediate reward and prioritizes survival. Why bother with distant dreams when you can have a dopamine-fueled rage right now? Why bother going to the gym and hurting yourself when you can eat a 1,000-calorie donut? It's all about immediate joy, evading any form of suffering and keeping your ass alive. That means comfort, security, and calories galore. And where does all this animal brain motivation stem from? Dopamine. Dopamine is that feel-good chemical our brain releases when we do something that increases our chance of survival, like eating a calorie-dense food or binging Netflix. It's your brain's way of saying, you're keeping us alive, good job champ, here's some dopamine to feel good about yourself, so that you keep doing it. You know all of this makes sense. You know you are your own worst enemy, your own barrier to your success. And now you know why. Cheap dopamine and the need for survival. It's the reason you hardly ever do what you know you should do and do all the things you know you shouldn't. Dopamine is why people love video games and social media and drinking and porn and many other detrimental habits. Here's where the problem is. Your logical brain is like a smartphone with a low battery. It's all guns blazing in the morning, but by the afternoon, it's gasping for a recharge. And the party animal? Well, it has the battery life of a Nokia 3310. It's relentless because survival mode doesn't come with an off switch. That's why you're more likely to exercise and do the things that you know you should do in the morning. Logical willpower is at its highest. This is also why we so often undo ourselves in the late afternoon and the evenings by eating the food that we know we shouldn't and sitting there and binging Netflix. Logical willpower is gone. Animal willpower takes over. And animal willpower is limitless. Think about it. Do you really think your willpower for keeping your ass alive would be limited? Do you think 1,000 years ago your ancestor could just lay on the ground because they had run out of willpower for the day? No, they had man-eating predators to run away from. To give you a more modern example of how an animalistic brain has unlimited willpower, think about how easy it is to play video games for hours on end. Time seems to fly by effortlessly because you are constantly receiving hits of dopamine every time you unlock the next achievement or reach the next level. Think about the most popular video games in recent times, World of Warcraft or Angry Birds. How often do you unlock something new or complete a level? Every 3 to 5 minutes? That's a near constant stream of dopamine, and that's why it's so easy to play for hours on end. Your animalistic brain absolutely loves it. Now think about Instagram Reels and TikTok and the release of dopamine there. God help us. The quest for quick dopamine hits can throw us off the achievement train. But what if we could use these basic instincts to our advantage? What if we could make the animal brain work for us, not against us? Dopamine isn't just about instant joy, it's also about anticipation. Our brain gets all giddy about stuff that it thinks will up our survival game. It's this expectation that causes the release of dopamine. So, how do we leverage our primal instincts to actually get what we want, to become the person that we know we could be, and stop wasting so much potential and time? Here's where the concept of value waltzes in. Imagine in prehistoric times, the tribe's MVP had the best chance of surviving. The leaders of the pack were simply the most likely to be protected, to survive, and to reproduce. Fast forward a few millennia, and value is still king. This same MVP mindset applies today, which is why we do all the bad stuff we know we shouldn't. Nowadays, it's called peer pressure. You start smoking or drinking because the group around you tells you to. So if you want to survive in that group, that's what you do. This is why so many people drink and smoke and do all the dumb shit we know hurts us long term, to increase our chance of survival amongst our community. Simply put, to fit in. In prehistoric times, not fitting in meant isolation, and isolation meant death. Not ideal. So to make our brain work for us, we need to align our goals with value, or at least perceived sense of self-value. For example, going to the gym and eating healthy is going to give you a better body, which increases your perceived value not only in your own mind, but in the minds of those fat lazy bastards around you. Likewise, becoming someone who is knowledgeable or skilled in a particular field increases your value in that particular community. And wealth? Well, that's obvious. All of this releases dopamine because we're increasing our chance of survival by increasing our value in our community. Now remember, dopamine is released upon expectation, not result. That is why you are not motivated to achieve your goals, because you spent months or years sacrificing and delaying gratification, and when you finally achieve your goal, what happens? You get a bit of a dopamine rush, yay, and then it goes away and you're left with the question, what next? Where's my next bit of dopamine coming from? You're not motivated to achieve a long-term goal because the payoff of dopamine is the same as if you were to eat a piece of cake right now. It's just not worth the effort, so your brain looks for something much shorter term. But what if we could flip that on its head and actually use our primal instincts to get what we want? Again, the easiest form of leverage we have over our survival instincts and our dopamine tap is increasing our perceived value. Let's look at an example. On the logical side of your brain, you want to get in shape. You want to have a six-pack and a peachy booty. Great. Without tying your animal brain to the process of going to the gym or eating right, what happens? We go to the gym once, using logical willpower, then we come home sore, and our animal brain goes, you've damaged your muscles, decreasing your likelihood of surviving, you're an idiot, don't do that again. And so it becomes a struggle every time we want to go to the gym. Now, what if we tied our animal brains to this same process? You say to yourself, by going to the gym and working out, I'm going to feel fantastic because I'm going to get in shape and have a six-pack and a peachy booty and look awesome, and it's going to increase my perceived value amongst all of my friends and the opposite sex, and therefore my chance of survival, aka getting laid and reproducing. Perfect. Your animal brain is now fully on board with increasing your value and turns on the dopamine tap to go to the gym. And just like that, limitless dopamine, limitless motivation. But remember, your brain is all about the chase, not the catch. So you must always aim for the next level. That's what keeps the dopamine flowing and you motivated. It is the expectation of you achieving that next level, of improving and progressing, that releases the dopamine and makes you motivated to do the thing that leads to the progressing and the improving. That's why people fail so quickly after announcing on social media that they've started a new business or a new fitness challenge. They get the win and the subsequent dopamine hit with the announcement. So all the motivation to actually follow through disappears. Once you win, the dopamine peaks and fades. It is only in the pursuit that the dopamine remains. So, It really all comes down to this one line, and after wading through my beautifully chaotic ramblings, you've now got a good grip on how this sneaky devil dopamine works. But here's the punchline that you've been waiting for. Boost your perceived self-worth. Steer clear of easy peasy, low-grade dopamine. That's the secret sauce. That's the magic mantra. If you swerve past the tempting pit stops of cheap dopamine, like crummy junk food, never-ending doom scrolling, endless Netflix marathons, night after night of boozing, and the allure of all those sexy ladies or gents online, guess what's going to happen? Your crafty animal brain is still going to yearn for that dopamine high. And if it can sniff it out from value-boosting activities, it's going to lead you right there, effortlessly. By value-boosting activities, I mean things like eating healthy, exercising, working on your business or side hustle, and trying to make more money and competing with people in sports or the game called life, learning new skills, acquiring new knowledge through books or courses or podcasts or YouTube. It's about leveling up physically and mentally and ramping up your worth as an individual, as a partner, as a buddy, as a professional, as a content creator, or whatever hat you wear in life. You have a myriad of identities and a plethora of ideals you aspire to achieve. And here's the trick to do it. Link your dopamine release to the activities that catapult you towards your goal and tell that cheap dopamine to take a hike. Here's the magic trick that all the high flyers have got down pat. They may sing the praises of delayed gratification, but what they've actually mastered is the art of dodging those cheap, easy dopamine hits. They've bamboozled their brains into finding delight in the very activities that steer them towards their desired outcomes. Instead of indulging in passive consumption, they're actively churning out creations. Instead of zoning out on video games, they're zoned in on their business, finding a unique joy in it because their sense of self-worth is all tangled up in it. Suddenly, the phrase "learn to enjoy the process" isn't just a worn-out mantra, but an entirely new game plan. It's not about enduring an unending bout of discomfort and hardship, vainly hoping for a fleeting jolt of dopamine once you finally clinch that massive win. It's not about developing a weird affection for the aches and the agony. It's about successfully diverting your primal brain's dopamine-releasing urge toward the continuous improvement and progression toward your ultimate goal, without offering it a cop-out escape route. I encourage you now to sit down and make 2 lists on a sheet of paper. This is a simple 5-minute exercise that will massively benefit you. On the one side, write down all the places you want to get dopamine from. Here are a few examples to help. Increasing my perceived value through improving my body by increasing my strength and fitness, eating the right foods so I lose body fat and overall look better. Increasing my value as a coach by becoming more effective at helping people discover, define, and achieve their definition of success. Increasing my value as a partner. Increasing my value as a content creator by constantly trying to improve my writing and speaking skills and creating better content that people engage with and learn from. Learning and improving my intellectual value through reading, listening, or watching, and increasing my monetary value by constantly trying to increase my monthly cash flow and equity. Now, on the other side of the page, make a list of all the places where you want to avoid getting dopamine from, at least for the majority of your day. Again, here is a list below to help you get started. Things like alcohol, scrolling social media and consuming non-educational content, eating bad food, and binging Netflix. By engaging in this straightforward activity, you'll initiate a mental blueprint identifying specific activities that not only lead you towards your goals, but also trigger dopamine release, since they're now associated with enhancing your self-esteem. You'll be equipped with knowledge about where you ought to source your dopamine hits and which activities you should dodge to avoid unproductive dopamine triggers. Sure, it might sound easier than it actually is, but honestly, I'd rather strategize with my primal instincts to do beneficial stuff than continuously wrestle and fight myself with it every time I attempt something positive. Picture this, a dopamine surge each time you invest in your business. pump iron, nourish yourself with the right foods, or meditate, or acquire new knowledge. Suddenly, these tasks become addictive, effortlessly consuming hours of your day, while Netflix or a tub of ice cream suddenly lose their appeal. So you see, delayed gratification is bullshit. The answer to your problems of procrastination and lack of motivation will not be found in sacrificing pleasure for some far-off goal and constantly fighting yourself. You don't need more discipline. Your animal brain will win that fight and derail you every single time. The real secret is channeling your animalistic, dopamine-seeking brain into activities that move you forward rather than hold you back. From now on, every time you hear or see someone say delayed gratification or the latest diet fad or how to build ironclad discipline or whatever else people come up with to convince you that you must sacrifice all pleasure for years on end, just remember this. It's about channeling your dopamine to a positive outlet instead of a self-destructive one. If you do that, let your brain seek all the gratification you can find as possible. Pursue the increase of perceived self-value and avoid cheap dopamine. Bye.